TIFU by doing butternut with a rubber snake. TL, doctor. Got banana, shoved a rubber snake up my banana for sexual pleasure, got brownie mix on it, and turns out that my dad loves the rubber snake since it's a huge rubber snake, and he still to this day plays with it with my siblings. This story isn't exactly horrible, it's just embarrassing as zucchini. Obligatory. This didn't happen recently, it happened about a year ago now. So, I'll elaborate. I'm 17, and still live with my parents. About a year ago, when I was 16, I got the bright idea to zucchini anally. Obviously, I don't have a coconut lying around anywhere, and if I did and my parents found it, I'd most likely be disowned. Instead of doing the old finger up the butt technique, I decided, why not do it with something more pleasurable than my fingers? And so I did. I looked around my room, and found a newish rubber snake my dad had bought a few years prior, as he had an odd fascination with the snake, as it was one of the largest rubber snakes he's ever seen. So, me being as banana as I was, I picked the toy up, and got in bed, dropped my underwear, and shoved the snake tail first up my rear. As far as I could get it, it didn't take long for me to get one of the best masturbation sessions of my life. Once I had finished, I pulled the snake out, and I realized, oh zucchini, I'm not very clean up there. The snake was covered in, well, nasty things from inside or me. I don't think I need to go into detail. I quickly took it to the bathroom and covered it in soap, and washed it as fast as I could using hot water, soap, and a rag. It was clean, I think. I put it back where I found it, and forgot about it. A few days later, I came to the realization that my dad adores that thing, and now I'm forced to think of the unholy acts I've performed with that rubber snake whenever my dad puts it on my siblings and holds it. Kill me. After recently reading 2 different TIFUs involving improvised masturbation devices which incubated maggots, I am relieved that yours ended without maggots. The weirdest thing about this is that his dad is enamored by a giant rubber reptile. That's because we don't know what _ his dad _ gets up to with it. You and your dad might be Eskimo brothers now. Can't believe the first time I'd hear the phrase Eskimo brothers is in the same sentence with my dad. Literal shitpost. Here's an update. You/Larry the Snake, thank you for adding the spoiler tag on the TL, doctor at the top. It annoys me that nobody else does that. When they add a TL, doctor at the top, it ruins the surprise. TIFU by relying on my grandfather's Rolex as an emergency fund. So when my grandpa passed away 5 years ago, I was given all of his watches. I've always liked watches and owned many, but never considered myself an expert. They were all from the 60s, and I wore the Hamilton and Beethoven on a daily basis. He had a Rolex. When it first came into my possession, I did a quick Google image search, thought I found the model, and moved on. I always intended on getting it serviced/appraised, but that never came to fruition. In the back of my mind, I knew I had a $5,000 watch, and if things ever got really bad financially, I could use the watch as an emergency fund. Cue the emergency. In the past month I've had everything wrong happen to my car, from an alternator and battery replacement, steering control repair, suspension work, and even more. After around $2,000 of repairs, my radiator has started to fail. I finally came to terms with the fact that I could sell the Rolex for a down payment of a new car. It definitely gave me an icky feeling in my stomach about selling it, but ultimately decided that a Rolex in my closet wasn't honoring my grandfather. Literally 5 minutes into trying to find the exact model and year of the Rolex, I could determine it was fake. The back case of the watch is clear, which has literally never been done for 99% of Rolex watches, especially not the date, just model I thought I had. Still have no idea what I'm going to do with my car, but I have to say I like the watch even more now. It's very on brand for my grandpa, and made me miss him so much today. TL, doctor, I always considered my grandfather's Rolex to be an emergency fund. Turns out it's super fake, and I'm a super cheesecake for trying to sell it in the first place. For what it's worth, replacing a radiator might be something you could do on your own and save a ton of money. The hardest part is flushing it. Definitely considering it. However, I have no garage and am currently in the middle of winter in northern Illinois. It definitely would be much more cost effective though. You're not an butternut, not like you were trying to sell it for hookers and blow. Princess Carolyn, is that you? It's not an banana move to have wanted to sell it. I'm sure your grandfather would have loved to be able to help you when you were in a pinch. And now you can wear it and not feel weird about having something super valuable on your wrist. Sorry you're still in a bind though. Some people have changed the backs of Rolex watches to clear to see the movement. It's usually deemed a no-no, but people do it, might still be worth being appraised. Just do it under the guise of insurance purposes. TIFU by playing Zelda, Ocarina of Time the wrong way. TLDR at the end, it's a bit of a specific one, but I find it still depressingly funny. My little cousin lent me his 3Ds with Zelda in it, and being the boomer I am, the nostalgia was too strong to not pick it up after all these years. My run was going pretty smoothly, except a few moments where I could not find a key item to continue. I forgot to pick Din's fire and was blocked in front of the Shadow Temple. Talking about this temple, while I struggled a bit with the water one, who didn't? I found this one freaking insanely hard. Every single room was a mind twister, since everything was hidden. I did all the goddamn dungeon with the grappling hook laser, testing and moving slowly through it. I was like, damn, I was a beast back then. Video games used to be so hard. I went like this until the final boss, where I finally realized, I'm freaking supposed to have the truth lens. I stood there, baffled by my own stupidity. No way this game would have been this hard. Humble brag here, but I still did the final boss without the lens, by just shooting the hands and spamming the sword when bongo rush for the hit. It took me a good 3 hours to finish it. The worst parts were the invisible platforms, before the boss, and with the moving one, 30 minutes on this one. 10/10ths would do it again. TLDR, played Ocarina of Time, did the whole Shadow Temple without the truth lens. I dropped it the first time I played it, came back after I read a book guide on how to go through it, lol. Oh, I remember those days when the internet was still so new that there weren't any forums or cheat guides and you had to actually go by the book Nintendo provided. You were cheesecake if they didn't show a screenshot image and had no idea what to do next. Are the simpler times. When I played WoW, it was my first MMO. I made it painfully through a lot of levels before I learned that you had to equip gear. I bought vendor gear until level 40. I never equipped looted gear and just vendored it. I was so happy when I had 1 gold, until someone told me they had 1,000. Reminds me of Pokemon when I didn't have Flash and would go through Mount Moon, I think in darkness. Sucked so bad. Haha, this one hits home too. Pretty sure most people did this the first time. I remember when a friend showed me where it was. I knew there was no way that game could be so difficult. I never actually beat Ocarina of Time. How old I was, maybe 7 or 9, but my uncle and me had played it for a while and were finally on the Shadow Temple. Got halfway through and decided to wait until after school to beat it tomorrow. I get home from school, uncle come over, turn on the game. Save gone, replaced by little brother's brand new game at the Deku Tree. There were 2 other slots open. Still laugh about it to this day, lol, but that banana wasn't funny back then.